Speaking of Cheltenham, Thunder Rock is going to be running this weekend in the Virgin Bet December Gold Cup Handicap Chase. He is favourite and a well-backed favourite as well. He's got pretty okay form. He finished third to some horse called Jerry Calam. Don't know what he's done since. Then he was second in a Grade 2 at Ayr to a horse called That's All Right Gino. Might be one for the tracker, that fella. And he beat Mahler Mission in the Colin Parker Memorial Intermediate Chase. So that's insanely good form. How's his preparation been going?
Yeah, really well. I'm actually at Ollie's tomorrow morning, so I asked you this time yesterday. Tomorrow I could have let you know, but I think Ollie's. I listened to Ollie actually this morning on Nick's podcast, and he said he was in flying form. I spoke to Ollie the other day, and he couldn't be happier with him. His preparation has gone really well. He bounced back from the Colin Parker a couple of 4 or 5 weeks ago now. So we go there with hope and excitement.
Yeah, I would imagine so. You finished third to the horse that might very well win the King George, although Willie Mullins might have something to say about that with Allaho. Who knows, Paul Nicholls will probably have something to say about that with the defending champion Bravemansgame as well. But that's a huge run against Jerry Calam. It's a massive run against That's All Right Gino, who might very well be a Gold Cup horse. And you've beaten Mahler Mission fair and square. Admittedly, he would be better over further, but that's insanely good form, hence his price. Yeah,
his form obviously stacks up so well, and when we saw the results of the Coral Gold Cup, we couldn't be happier really with the front two. I think there's no excuses really for Saturday. Everything's in his favour. I think he's had a lovely prep run. If he gets into an early rhythm, I think the only thing that he does kind of struggle with is if sometimes he doesn't get into a nice natural rhythm, he can make a few mistakes with his jumping. So you just hope that he gets into a nice steady rhythm and Sean can bowl away on him. And I think we might ride him a bit more positively this time. I think he doesn't quite get 3 miles, but I think he definitely, if he's ridden a bit more positively over 2.5, I think that's his ideal.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm sure at some point you might want to step him up to 3 miles again, but for now, This seems to be his ideal trip. He loves the ground. He loves left-handed undulating tracks. There's a lot in his favour.
Yeah, and he's run at Cheltenham before and it's ran well. So yeah, it's in the name, but it really is his Gold Cup on Saturday. This has been his kind of half-season target for a long time. So yeah, fingers crossed it all works out. I mean, I read a statistic the other day I should really not read these articles in the Racing Post because it says something like the last 7 or 8 favourites haven't won the race. So I'm like, oh, bloody hell, really?
Yeah, but they don't know their favourite. It's not like Thunder Rock is reading the newspaper in the morning, going through the Racing Post app and going, wait, what? Oh, I'll just throw in the towel now.
Paul Nicholls today was very bullish about Monmoral. So, I thought we could maybe step that one aside, but no, I think he's had a win.
No, don't skip this. Don't skip this. So he's got 2, Il Rodado, and Monmoral. Is he talking the talk again with Monmoral?
Yeah, he was talking the talk earlier anyway. He was having none of it, but Thunder Rock was better than him. But he's had a wind up, so you never know. And obviously Harry's on board, so that obviously's changed things slightly. But I think we'll beat Monmoral. We've beat him before. I think we'll beat him. I'll say that and he'll go and hack up by 10 lengths.
No, I'm with you. I think this is all about Ollie Murphy and the McNeill family and Mr. Dale, of course. We can't leave Ian Dale out of this. But no, I'd be very confident this is a Sean Bone victory. Although Harry is riding unbelievably well. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. And it is Paul Nicholls, to be fair. But that's the only reason Monmoral is the price he is. I think this is a McNeill family. Why do you think I got you on today before this race? It's because this is going to be a glorious debut. Thunder Rock goes and wins. There's going to be a number of other McNeill family horses who win over the weekend. And then listeners are going to be flooding back to the final forum. When's Ella coming on the show again? When's Ella coming on the show? Or if it goes horribly wrong, they'll just be blocking people left, right, and centre on the tweet machine with the abuse.
I'll just stay quiet after that. It's a big weekend, and I hope you're right, Emmet. I hope you're right. It's it's difficult with weekends like this because we wouldn't normally shoot 2 big shots like we've got 3 under as well and Thunder on the same day. We'd normally kind of stay away from doing that because it can either be a fantastic day or a day full of disappointment. So So I hope you're right about Thunder. Let's keep fingers crossed.
Are you on duty for Race Day TV, or are you going to be there in your capacity as an owner?
No, I'm not working on the weekend, so I've got a Saturday off, so I will be there enjoying myself for sure.
Well, alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Drink responsibly, everybody. I think we're supposed to say that. But, if it doesn't go particularly well, you've got that to fall back on anyway. I think you've got a great chance. If somebody could clip up Ella really giving it the big guns about it, we're going to crush Paul Nicholls and show him. And if it comes off, brilliant. And if it doesn't come off, play some sad music as Morales scoots to victory. Yeah, you mentioned 300 through 5, so he's having his second run after a wind up. Paul Nicholls does love his wind ups. In the 3 mile, 2 furlong handicap chase at Cheltenham. He's raced 7 times in November, December. He's won 4, placed twice. And the time he didn't was in the Hennessy, so we can forgive him that. He loves soft ground, stamina's no problem. Easy game. Don't complicate your mind. Absolute steering job for Harry Cobden.
Yeah, well, if only it was that easy. He, as you said, had a wind up, and everyone keeps telling me the second run after a wind up is the best, so I'm holding on to that. And he ran a lovely race in the Badger Beer earlier last month, and basically could have done with a run before the Badger Beer. Just got tired, but he's fresh and well. We were thinking about going to the Coral Gold Cup, but I'm so glad we decided to wait for 2 weeks later, because he took a few bumps and knocks in the Badger Beer, and just could have done with that kind of extra couple of weeks. And so this race at Cheltenham came up, and we hadn't, to be honest, we hadn't actually been thinking about it. We've been thinking about the race at Ascot next weekend on Saturday. I think it's a 100 grand Howden handicap there. And this Cheltenham race never really came into our radar, and Paul just kind of floated the idea, and we had a look at the race and the conditions, and it's 3 mile 2 and the Ascot rate's 2 mile 7. And I think 3 under is just kind of progressing towards an out and out stay. I love those longer trips, and I think 3 mile 2 over soft ground at Cheltenham will suit him down to a T. And so we decided to go here rather than Ascot.
Plus, Adrian's a fantastic jockey, but Harry Cobden, as I was saying, is just mustard. And given how he's riding, the fact that he's going to be on board as well, and that he is Paul's number 1 in the race, a lot to like. Yeah,
I agree. No, I agree. Harry's riding absolutely out of his skin at the moment, and hopefully he'll do the same on 3 under on Saturday.
What do you make of Protectorate going here? Out of the King George, out of the Savills, let's go for a handicap chase, says Dan Skelton.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to carry a stack of weight, and I think he does run. And if he does run, I think we're 10 stone 13, I think, and he's 12 stone. I think, if that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, spot on.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I guess you're at that tricky point where are you graded level, or can you compete at the top level in handicaps? And I think maybe that's just where they're going to try now and see if they can try their luck at these kind of top level handicaps and see how they fare.
He'll get his ground. I'll say that for him. But I don't know. I'll talk to William Kennedy about him on Friday morning, but I don't see it personally. But it's fascinating they're going to put him in there. And Broadway Boy's a really interesting joint favourite with you, but he's not getting that much weight from you. And while he was really impressive against his stablemate, we've all been caught the other day. And Flooring Porter, I think, is a really interesting recruit to chasing. Just think he lacks a little bit of experience. As much as I like Broadway Boy, he just doesn't have the battle hardness, the toughness, and the experience that 300 through 5 has. I think he's got a major chance here, Ella. Yeah,
I think I quite like that Melina girl as well. I saw for Gavin Cromwell, I saw it win the last meeting. I don't know if it will run, but I saw it in the last meeting in November, and it was very impressive on 3 mile 3 and soft ground. So I think he's a danger. I want to say she's a danger, but it's not a filly.
Well, you don't know what she identifies as.
It isn't there.
Yeah, it's a mare. Yeah, but maybe she thinks. Maybe she acts like a gelding. Maybe she acts like a filly. Maybe she acts like a colt. Who knows?
When I said that, I said that this is coming out my mouth and it's not right. So Melina girl is the one I think she looks nice.
She does. That's the way to put it. She looks nice. That'll cover that. You mentioned In the Waterside. Look, that's a horse we were all very excited about after his 2 bumper wins and a really impressive hurdling debut at Aintree. When he did an awful lot wrong, he was very, very keen, a little bit too keen, to be honest. That might have come against him against Nicky Henderson's horse, who hadn't run since 19-dickety-do. Not that far back, but still, he was running when Constitution Hill was a novice. And that was a remarkable training performance from Nicky Henderson to get him back. Although Willie Mullins saw that and said, "Oh, you think that's impressive? I'll take a novice hurdler who hasn't run since the pandemic. I'll show you."
I saw that.
That's insane. I did love that tweet from Sam. Literally hasn't run since before the pandemic and comes out and wins after 1,000 days. Ridiculous stuff. I covered that race on TalkSport too. He just didn't. He settled better than he had done in his hurdling debut, but it can't possibly have been his true running.
It was just the wrong race for him. And I think in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have run over 2 miles on kind of good ground. I think it was good to soft. He's an out-and-out 3-mile chaser in the making. And I think we just, unfortunately ran him in the wrong race. And I looked again at the race, and he was only 5 lengths, I think, behind Jody the Great of Nicky's. And he didn't disgrace himself, but I just think with horses like him, we really have to mind him. I think there's no rush whatsoever with him. Anything kind of extra he does in his bumper and his hurdling career is just leading towards him going chasing. And I think you can kind of get overexcited with, he's unbeaten 3 times, and you can get a bit overexcited. I think you just have to have patience with these horses sometimes. And probably, we just chose the wrong race for him. And it's just one of those things. We draw a line under it, and we'll go again in the new year, find a nice race for him. And I think he's been given a mark of 120, which is an absolute gift. So we will be taking the most of that. So we're making the most of that in the new year for sure.
The BHA gave him a mark of 120.
Yeah, well, that's pretty sure. 120.
That's punish them. Punish them. And crush any bookmaker who goes too big a price about you. When some of those bookmakers will price up at like 3:30. Bang! Smash them. He is very exciting. That's a really important point to make as well, though. It was good ground, and he was dropping back in trip. It's a significant drop in trip from 2 mile 4 to 2 miles. He is bred for stamina. He clearly has an awful lot of class. Physically, though, he came out of the race okay.
Yeah, fine, bouncing. He's huge. He's like almost 18 hands. He's an absolute monster. And, with these big horses running on good ground, sometimes I think he had slight sore shins. That's a tongue twister. He had slight, sore shins after the race. So Paul just said that's just a sign that he just needs better, a deeper ground. So I think with these horses, it's all about learning about them, isn't it? You know what they like, you know what they don't like, and you don't know that until you try. And so, we know for next time, and we'll pick the perfect race for him next time out.
Katie, George and I were talking about the old-fashioned chasing types like him, the horses who are giants, and how they can be. They looked magnificent. They look like superstars. The guy who bought Kia Jabraken's King of Steel was saying that at that Breeze Up sales in America, he had been nicknamed the police horse. And he was fascinated by him, and but nobody wanted to buy it. Somebody did, because they paid 200 grand for him. So someone was bidding against them. But it's almost an affront. It's almost an insult now that type of racehorse isn't as fashionable as they once were. And part of the reason is big horses are quite hard on themselves, and they're more susceptible to injury. But he might very well be, but he just looks more put together. He looks a stronger type. And for all that didn't go to plan, he does look like a horse who will take his racing well.
Yeah, I mean, touch wood, so far he's been completely sound and never had any issues coming out of his races. He always bounces back very well. We have a horse that's similar to him in size called Thames Water, and he's the complete opposite to In the Waterside. Very fragile, has really problems with his legs, very difficult to keep sound, and just the opposite to In the Waterside. They're probably similar in stature, but In the Waterside, it's just, as you say, a bit more put together. He's not so hard on himself on races, and I think, he can take his racing a bit more, but we will be careful on what ground we run him in the future, just because he is so big.
You know at Paul's Yard, how he looks at his kitchen window and sees Cotto Star's old box, and they're at the main boxes.
Yeah.
Is in the Waterside near that area of horses?
Yeah, well, in the Waterside's in Cotto Star's box, so that's no pressure there.
I had a feeling he was. I had a sneaky feeling he was. That's a box that Paul Nicholls reserves for his very, very best. That's a special box. Obviously, that's his favourite racehorse of all time.
Well, he's neighbours with Bravemansgame, and I went down the other day, and there's a little grate between the wall between their stables, and you see them talking a few times and telling me. It's so funny. I was saying to my dad, I was like, "Oh, do you think Bravemansgame?" Goes, "Oh, bloody hell, that was a tough race yesterday. I'm really tired now." And in the Waterside, goes, "They run me over 2 miles. What do you think they're doing?" I was like, "Do you think they talk to each other? Do you think they talk to each other in the grate?" This is the crazy things that us owners have to think about.
Well, we could play that out. It could literally be in the Waterside saying, "You all right, mate?" "No, I'm not. They ran me in the Betfair Chase." What the hell were they thinking? He's told me I was going straight to the King George, and he ran me in the Betfair Chase. It's madness. How did Bravemansgame look to you? Now that we can get the inside track that you've been there, that you're literally your horse is right beside Bravemansgame. How is the defending champion in the King George looking?
Yeah, well, I went down on the Monday after he'd run in that race, and I had a couple of owners that own in the Waterside coming down to see Paul's Yard, and so we obviously had a look at Bravemansgame on that Monday, just 2 days after he'd run in that race. And yeah, he did look a bit sorry for himself, to say the least. He's normally, quite, well, I don't know him that well because I've only been to Paul's a couple of times, but normally he's got his head out of the door and very friendly and wants to have a hug and a nice stroke. But he was feeling a bit sorry for himself. I think he had a hard race that day, and I will be watching with interest as how he comes back in the King George.
See, in a way, I'm fascinated to hear that, by the way. But in another way, you don't want to hear that a horse you're now criticizing and saying, "Hey, Ella, I think this horse could be done. I think Bravemansgame is a has-been, and Allaho's going to crush him." And then hear that he's just like subdued and feeling sorry for himself. Like, that's not what you want to hear.
If anyone can get him back, it's Paul. So I'm not in too much doubt.
He's won more King Georges than any other trainer, and he does have a habit of being able to work out. I'm kind of starting to wonder, is Pictori going to turn up in that race? Because he was mysteriously absent from the Peterborough Chase that then ended up being cancelled.
Yeah, and it could fall apart, this King George. If a few of the big ones don't turn up, then it could be quite open.
Yeah, it's funny. Nick's got all the exclusives this week. He gets Gordon on, who basically confirms King George, because who wants to take on Fast or Slow in the Savills when you can take on a possibly on decline? He's definitely on decline. Bravemansgame, and then Willie Mullins. Poor old Bravemansgame. And then along comes Willie Mullins and says, "Yeah, so remember how I said we were going to go for the Kinloch Beret? Yeah, scratch all that. We're going to go for last year's plan." He's heading to the King George with Allaho. Brilliant. This is exciting. As long as those two actually do turn up and don't decide quieter time in Ireland, then yeah, it's going to be a fascinating race if they all show up. And of course, there's the old boy Shishkin, who's done his nut.
Yeah. Well, if they all turn up, it'd be a cracking race. So I'm looking forward to it.
Very much so. You mentioned Thames Water. So he's by Flemsford out of a King's Theatre mare, full brother to Henry de Bromhead's Grade 3 winner, Manila Melody. We haven't seen him since that race at Ascot, a bumper in November of last year, but that race has produced plenty of winners. You were just mentioning his size. He looks like a really imposing individual. He would be in the exciting pot, but what kind of a setback did he have, or has there been a specific reason why we haven't seen him since November last year?
Yes, we had a setback after that race, his one and only race, and came back from it. When was it? 2 or 3 months ago. We're really pleased with him. We send a lot of our horses to Jamie McGee, who is fantastic at having the horses not only in the summer but rehabbing any horses that have injuries. He has amazing facilities at his yard, so he did a fantastic job with Thames and getting him back. And unfortunately, he had another setback kind of a month after being in training. In November, kind of late October, November time. So now we won't see him until next season now, probably. So it's horses like that, very, very fragile. And you just have to mind them, and we have to be very patient. And we'll hopefully he'll make a full recovery, and he'll show us the sparkle that he showed in last year.
That's a real heartbreaker when you're involved in a horse who's clearly very exciting, clearly has an awful lot of talent, but those injuries just creep in.
Yeah, I think we had such a bad season last season for it. We literally, every kind of couple of weeks, we were getting calls about horses being injured. And honestly, I think it was one of the worst seasons we've had for injury last year. And so this year we kind of started afresh, and we were like, please, can we just have because honestly, to get a horse, to buy a horse, to keep it sound and to get it run consistently is so tough, because you don't get to hear about all these horses that people buy. They don't work out, they have setbacks after setbacks. And I think to get a horse to a racetrack and to have, a favourite in December Gold Cup is just like so difficult. And so we're used to it now. We're long in the tooth. Yeah, it's a shame. It's part of the game, and you just have to, be tough about it and move on. But it is a shame when, especially horses you think the world of, don't quite get there or don't make it or have setbacks. So, but yeah, it's just part of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I interviewed Richard Pugh a few weeks ago, and for those who don't know, Richard is a brilliant commentator in Ireland for RTE, but also he's very heavily involved in the sales industry as well, and mastermind behind point-to-point.ie. And he mentioned a Gordon Elliott horse, whose name I now can't think of, and he was amazed that I didn't know who the horse was. And I went back through notes, and I did. Back in 2018, I'd been told, oh, this horse is meant to be the next Pegasus.
Right.
Injury after injury after injury. I believe he's still with Gordon, but he's 9 years of age, never ran. And if you talk to people who were there the day he won that point-to-point, they'll tell you that was going to be a superstar. It's just, that's the way it goes, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So when you get one that can stay sound and can take its racing, that's all you could ask for.
That's why people celebrate big wins.
Yeah. We're not shy over here.
Yeah.
A win's a win, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you've had a winner, then you're allowed to celebrate it. And we are advocates of celebrating large and loud. And we love it. And I think no one should be put down for celebrating a win. That's for sure.
I'm going to be celebrating like an absolute lunatic when 300thrufive and Thunder Rock land a massive each-way scumbag account closer double at the weekend. And I'm only backing those horses. I've got no involvement in the ownership. And you'll still hear me celebrating from Kilkenny.
The double has definitely got to be on the card, surely.
Oh, come on.